Good morning from Ann Arbor, Michigan, and good evening to all of our new international students and families in Taiwan. We are so excited to see so many of you who are able to join us today. Even though we are very disappointed we are not able to deliver this at the Grand Hotel Taipei, which is the background you can see on my screen. This is where the event is supposed to take place, so we're very disappointed. However, our commitment of serving and supporting international students has never changed. So I am very thrilled we're able to deliver this virtually with the team of colleagues and former international students who have worked with us for so many hours. And then I also have a couple of colleagues who are working behind the scene, helping us to making sure everything runs smoothly. I know that a lot of you have questions about a housing assignment, visas. We're going to cover everything. But do keep in mind that we're not experts for everything. And also things do change rapidly. So making sure the information we're relating to you may not be the case in the next week or so, because University of Michigan is supposed to make an announcement by the end of June regarding fall semester. In any events, we're very happy we're here. So please allow me to first introduce myself. My name is Kate Joan. My pronouns are she, her, hers. Today, I wear a pair of glasses, and also I have black hair and brown eyes. I wear a navy color dress with some white spots, for those of you who may not be able to see it, so I want to describe myself. I'm the Assistant Director for Global Engagement and Education Abroad at International Center, University of Michigan. I am originally from China, and I came to the United States in 1992 and have been working at International Center in 1998 in different capacities. Never been to Taiwan. It's on my bucket list, so looking forward to be there next year. How about you, Jake?
Hi, everyone. My name is Jake Kelzer, and my gender pronouns are he, him, his. I'm a program advisor on the Global Engagement and Education Abroad team at the International Center, so I'm also on Kate's team. And yet, if you can't see me, to give you a sense of what I look like, I am wearing glasses as well, even though I'm not in my picture. I have brown hair and brown eyes, and I'm wearing a University of Michigan t-shirt that I typically wear during our orientation time when we welcome new students to the university. So I am actually an American. I'm from Michigan originally, and I went to undergraduate school at the University of Michigan where I studied history. And then I ended up living in Spain for 2 years. So although I was never an international student in the United States, I do have experience living abroad, and hopefully that will help me be able to make connections with many of you who are moving to a new place and may be unfamiliar with the United States or Michigan or Ann Arbor. And then after that, I went back to graduate school in Wisconsin. And then this has actually been my first job after I graduated from graduate school. And I've been working at the International Center for about 3.5 years now. And now I'll pass it over to Shia.
Thanks, Jake. Hi, everyone. My name is Shia Chang. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am wearing a navy blue blouse today, and my hair is black, and my hair is kind of like middle to longer length, and I don't have glasses on today, whereas my picture actually has glasses. So a little about myself. I was an international student from Taiwan, and I went to U of M in 2017, and I graduated in 2019. And since then, I was working on my OPT with the School of Social Work as a social work resident. And so I'm really excited, and I feel really honored and privileged to work with Kate, Jake, and also two Kellys behind the scenes today to deliver this pre-departure orientation with all of you.
All right, thank you, Jake. Thank you, Shia. I just noticed the chat. I think nobody can hear the Michigan fighting song except me. We tested, I don't know, technology sometimes can really, play some jokes. But anyway, so that is a Michigan fighting song performed by Michigan Marching Band and also men and women glee clubs. So you can Google, you'll be able to find it and enjoy it. So I apologize for the technology part. I want to say a special thank you to Shia, who has been working countless hours crafting this presentation, making sure the content really meet the needs of new international students. So we cannot say enough how much we appreciate the effort she put it together. I also want to mention for those of you who need closed captions, so you can turn that on as well. This webinar is being recorded and we'll also put a PowerPoint on the website afterwards. Now, I mentioned at the very beginning, a lot of uncertainty. Inevitably, everybody are anxious and having anxiety. Same here. We are in Ann Arbor. We're anxious to know what is going to happen for fall semester. So we're in the same situation. So it is not like information is being held by one office, not sharing. We do not know what fall semester will look like either. So everybody's anxious. Imagine University of Michigan is such a large public institution with over 48,000 students overall. It's a lot of details need to be worked out. Having said that, we are here to deliver the information. We're hoping that something that we can help you to manage within our control. So today we'll be covering campus life and support, which will be talking about academic and social life and what support is available for all of you. Jake will be using his expertise to talk about immigration's issues and what are some of the basic things that all of you have to be aware of and comply with. Otherwise, you will not be able to study in the United States. The last segment of this presentation will be talking about various orientations and how we support you beyond orientation throughout your studies at your University of Michigan. If time permits, at the very end, we welcome you to use the chat function. If we have not covered anything, you still have questions, at that point, we welcome you to use the chat function to ask any questions you may have. I am sure when you apply for University of Michigan, you have done a lot of homework, knowing that Michigan is a large decentralized public institution with a large students body. I mentioned over 48,000. And also that include over 8,000 international students. And then you added scholars. So International Center serve both international students and scholars. We have over 10,000. International students and scholars representing over 130 countries. And then once we release the PowerPoint, you'll be able to click on the annual statistical report. If you're curious and interested, you'll be able to find how many international students from each country, what they are studying here at the University of Michigan as well. The picture you see on your left hand, the top image is the building where International Center is located. It's called Students Activities Building. And then the lower image is our office. So just to give you a sense what it looks like. In terms of what you will use services offered by International Center, that include immigration services, advices, and also health insurance. And then also all the programs, including this pre-departure orientation for new international students or beyond orientation, are all put together, planned and organized and developed and executed by International Center and staff. So with that, I am going to turn the floor over to Shia to talk about campus support and the campus life and support.
Thank you, Kate. So my section is about campus life and support offered by the university. As Kate mentioned earlier, U of M is a very large public school in the US. It has a lot of resources. What I learned over the years that most of the time, if I came across a difficulty, there were already systems and procedures in place to help me navigate through the difficulties. And if there has not been a solution, I was always able to find advocates alongside with me to find support and eventually make some changes. Because information and resources are so many, I am not able to, and we are not able to include everything here like Kate was mentioning. And so my pace might be a little fast. However, I hope that that after my sharing with you, it will give you some kind of initial directions and allow you to have a peek into the life at U of M and in Ann Arbor. And we also embedded a lot of links. As you can see, if the color is a little different, they are links in the slide. So I encourage you to go over those links after our webinar today. So you may have heard that the term Midwest. Michigan is usually referred as a Midwestern state. The shape of Michigan is like a mitten. So like the picture that we put in the middle, it's a mitten. And when you put your hands up like this, it looks like the shape of Michigan. And in between like my thumb and the index finger here, it's where you can find Ann Arbor. So Ann Arbor is smaller than kind of like 1/3 of the city of Taipei. So it is not big at all. It is consistently ranked among the best places places to live in Midwest. So the University of Michigan campus buildings are spread across Ann Arbor. In addition to U of M facilities, there are also many restaurants, parks, museums, and galleries. So there are two academic campuses in Ann Arbor. One is the Central Campus, and then the other one is the North Campus. Each of them houses multiple schools, and they are about 5 to 10 minutes drive apart from each other. We will talk about transportation system later, but just to mention it now, many buses have routes that connect the two campuses. All right, if we look at the Ann Arbor weather, so Ann Arbor offers its residents 4 very distinctive seasons. I typically separate it into 2 parts. So there's the winter part that goes from mid to late October to sometimes late April. And then there's the spring, summer, and fall. So spring, summer, and fall, during those 3 seasons, the temperature rarely goes above 35 Celsius degree, as you can see in the slide. And I really love the flowers in the spring, and then kayaking and canoeing in the summer, and then the beautiful brown, red, and yellow colors of leaves during the fall. But then during winter, it can be long, and then sometimes it's really hard to endure. But I would just assure you that winter comes, but winter also ends every year. And then during the winter, heater will be on indoors. So it is important to use some type of like onion wearing technique to layer up when you dress. And then I recommend that you go through the winter tips page in the IC welcome webinar that we have the link over here at the bottom, and to see what you would like to bring and then what you would like to purchase when you arrive. As winter usually starts in mid to late October, as long as you are fully prepared by mid to late October, you will be all right. All right, so one of the most attractive traits of Ann Arbor for me is its convenience. It cannot compete with public transportation in Taiwan, especially in Taipei, sadly. However, compared to many other cities in the US, Ann Arbor has an excellent public transportation system. I lived in Texas and California before, where not having cars equals to not having legs. But in Ann Arbor, you can actually survive without owning a car. In fact, I did not have a car during the 3 years that I was in Ann Arbor. And it's a personal choice because I didn't want to spend too much money on car maintenance. And sometimes if I really need to go to further locations, I would just do car rentals. And we have included the car rental links in later slides too. There are 2 kinds of buses running around campus. The first kind of buses are the U of M Blue buses. They are free and then doesn't need you to show any identification when you enter. The second kind of buses are called the Ride, which are the white city buses. These buses are also free to U of M students. However, they will require you to swipe your M card when you enter. So if you forget to bring your M card, the ticket is about $1.5. And then, so I just went over a little bit, but like due to COVID-19 situation, there are consistently updates regarding transportation services. And so there's also a link that we put on the slides later on when we release the slides. You can check on the updates. And I recommend that like before you arrive on campus, check on what systems are running and then what is not running. And then for arrival, we want to mention that the nearest airport to Ann Arbor is called Detroit Metropolitan Airport. DTW, and Michigan Flyer, which is something that is a bus system that is the most cost-efficient one. It costs $12 for one reserved ride, and then $15 if you don't have a reservation. And passengers can go online to purchase tickets in advance. And then the downside of Michigan Flyer would be it has set schedules, and then it stops at the transit center in Ann Arbor. So if you don't live close to Central Campus, this option might not be as convenient for you. And unfortunately, due to COVID again, Michigan Flyer is currently suspended. So make sure that you double check the link that we put on the slides before you arrive, and then if you want to take Michigan Flyer. Besides that, there's also Airbus, and then Airbus is something that runs between U of M and DTW between and after U of M breaks. So fall break, Thanksgiving, winter break, and then spring break. It is a service provided by the central student government, and you will need to check back closer to the start of one of the breaks to view the bus schedule and then make a reservation. Another popular option would be Uber and Lyft, and Taiwan has Uber, so you should be familiar with Uber. Lyft is something that's another company that offers very similar services to Uber, and you can download the apps from your mobile app distribution platforms and then order rides through the apps. So I usually check prices of the two, Uber and Lyft, and then just pick one that is cheaper. Something else would be like taxi. I'm seeing the chat that we're not sharing the slides. Yeah, okay, let me just go through the transportation. And the taxi is would be the most expensive option. However, if you, yay, screen comes back. So if you are riding, if you decide to ride the taxi, I would recommend that you just bring cash if you are taking taxi, so that you're prepared. And then finally, you might have your own network, and you can also ask your friends to who own a car to take you or pick up you from the airport. I know that the Taiwanese associations, they also offer airport pickups for you to sign up. And so you can go on to their Facebook pages and then to get more information on airport pickups. Yeah, and so again, I will share the slides with you. And so if there's any information that's missed here, you can feel free to go back to the slides and then look into the links. So in terms of housing, on-campus housings are the university-owned housing, because U of M has 40, Kate just mentioned 48,000 students on campus. So finding housing sometimes may be stressful. However, once you get familiar with the process, you will be able to find the most fitted option. There are different dedicated on-campus housing for both undergraduate students and graduate students. It is optional for any students to live in on-campus housing. However, on-campus housing, especially if you are undergraduate students, usually provides a unique campus experience that you will share with other students living in the residence hall and campus apartments. So here I listed a few different notes for undergraduate and graduate housings. You can click into the Apply Here link or the More Information link at the bottom to learn more, and then make sure that you read about their policies or leases, such as the start and end dates, and then especially for undergraduate students, during winter and summer breaks, you are not able to stay in the residence hall. So you will need to make plans accordingly. We noticed that several students asked about housing assignments, and then you're worried they still that you don't know the housing assignments yet. And like Kate explained earlier, this is likely because the university hasn't announced decisions for their fall semester, and so that university housing hasn't rolled out a plan for the fall either. So if you have submitted an application, just keep an eye on your emails for more updates. And if you haven't submitted any application, I recommend you to do so soon if you are interested in on-campus housing, because those are usually very popular. So for off-campus housing, off-campus housing are private housings available for rentals. spread out in the city of Ann Arbor. Many students like to make rentals with off-campus housing due to price, facilities, locations, and so on. Here are some of the resources of common off-housing research platforms for you to start your search. We highly recommended that you check out this virtual housing fair offered by the university's off-campus housing department, Beyond the Diet. It is on Wednesday, so the time is on Wednesday, June 24 at 2 p.m. Eastern time. So it will be 2 a.m. in Taiwan. So no worries if you're not a night owl. They will post a recording on their website after, or put more information on their website after the fair. And so you should be able to check this website after Wednesday to learn more information about off-campus housing. And then just a few other notes. Before signing the lease, the university's like student legal services can also review your leases for you. And then last but not least, just to be aware of rental schemes. And then we have the link here for you to read scenarios too. Sometimes there are schemes going on with off-campus housing. And I highly recommend that, like before I went to Michigan, I actually set up a video call, so like a FaceTime with the person that I'm renting out housing from, so that I can see the facilities and then furnitures and everything that's in the house. All right, so in terms of the food services on campus, it's called the M Dining. It is comprised of 12 on-campus cafes and then 7 markets, 7 residential dining halls, a line of Blue to Go foods, and the Michigan catering unit. So university dining halls provide meals that accommodate different dietary restrictions like kosher, vegetarian, vegan, gluten-free, and halal. They are run as buffets, so you can eat as much as you want and as little as you like during one visit. If you are an undergraduate student living in a resident hall, you have unlimited meal plan. And so whenever the dining hall are open, you can just use your M card and then get the meals. If you are a student living off campus and you don't want to cook, you can also purchase meals with M Dining. All right, regarding banking, you can set up a local bank account in the US as an international student. We saw that some people asked about like how to pay tuition. One way is that you can set up a bank account, and the selection of banks is your personal choice. You can check out the local banks comparison chart below that we included here. And just a note, PNC is the official M-Card bank. It means that only a PNC account can be combined with your M-Card, so which is your identification card. However, it is perfectly okay if you do not set up a PNC bank account. And then there are many other regional, national, and international banks. An important consideration for choosing a bank is whether there is a close by ATM machine that you can take money from. And then make sure that you set up online banking, because like me, like I didn't have a car, and so sometimes it's more useful for me to use online banking instead of physically going to the bank. It is also okay if you want to switch a bank after using one for a while. And so the International Center's banking webpage lists steps and then documents you need for opening a bank account. It also explains different banking terminologies, and so you can look into more information there. So in terms of paying tuition and fees, this slide lists some ways that you can pay your tuitions and fees. Bills from the university will be posted to your Wolverine Access portal monthly, and you will receive emails from the bills. There's a way that you can authorize your parents or family to receive messages to Wolverine Access too. And the university accepts payments in the form of cash, checks, and then e-payment. It also offers optional payment plans. This was very helpful for me, so that I divided my payment over 5 payment periods without interest, so I don't have to pay it at once. There is also a software called FlightWire that we have the link here. So it allows students to make international transactions. And so if your parents, your family, or yourself want to transaction the money from your account in Taiwan or elsewhere, you can use this software. So going over to health and wellness, U of M has one of the best healthcare system among higher education institutions in the US. One major reason is that we have the U of M hospital on campus, which is the #5 hospital in the entire USA. And once you arrive and then activate your immigration status, you are automatically enrolled in the international insurance plan, which will post a monthly payment on your Wolverine access. You are required to pay the insurance in order to keep your immigration status unless you're eligible to apply for a waiver. And it can be costly, but this insurance plan covers many healthcare services, including dental care. So I recommend that you click into the link again to learn more about coverages and then take advantage of them. I was somebody who never read the coverages and then later on found out, wow, oh my gosh, there are so many services that I actually didn't use. So most costs at the University Health Services, UHS, are covered by the health services fee that you already pay when you pay your tuition and student services. And then many UHS services are free for enrolled students. So if you're enrolled, they're free. And then for other costs that you need to pay, UHS will bill this insurance to bill to your insurance, and then send you the bill. And then be aware that you are responsible for payments if insurance does not cover the cost. So it is, again, very important to be familiar with all the services that the University Health Services provide before you use them. In addition, all the U of M's health services provide interpretations that you can apply. So when you go to the services, you can actually ask for interpretation so that you can understand terminologies and instructions from the doctors. Some students also ask us about immunizations. Note that immunizations are not required by U of M or US government. They are recommended in order to protect your health and the health of others, but they're not required. So if you'd like to get immunizations, you can receive them at UHS for a fee. Besides physical health support, U of M also offers free mental health support to all students individually and in groups. There are counselors at the counseling and psychological services, we call it CAPS, who can speak Mandarin Chinese too. So they also offer events and group supports. And recently they launched an online mental health tool available to all students at no cost. So if you don't want to go and meet person like counselors, you can do these self-guided programs for anxiety, depression, stress, resilience, or insomnia. For physical activities, the last point, there are many recreation centers at the U of M, both in Central and North campuses. In these recreation centers, there are fitness rooms, pools, weight training, and outdoor facilities. There are also coordinated intramural sports teams available for students to join. Do use them. And Arbor is a fairly safe city with many security systems that work to provide the student body. The U of M has its own police department as well as Department of Public Safety and Security. It's called DPSS. By the way, at U of M, we use a lot of acronyms. And so when you hear DPS CAPS, they usually refer to different offices. So DPS works very closely to ensure that you're safe on campus. However, no places are fully safe. So just be cautious. Make sure to always lock your doors and then not walk around outside alone during very late nighttime. U of M also has something called emergency alert as an urgent mass notification system that keeps students, faculty, and staff informed about major active emergencies on campus. So this system will be activated without undue delay by DPSs. And then you can sign up for voice or text alert on Wolverine Access. In addition, it is recommended that you save this number 734-363-1131 DPSS phone number on your cell phone in case of emergency. If your cell phone services are not available, you can also look for the blue light phones shown in the picture that we shown here to make emergency calls. And so these phones are around campus. If you encounter a life-threatening emergency, for example, if you see somebody holding a gun or something that's very life-threatening, make sure that you call 911 immediately. That will be the best way and safest option. All right, if you during after hours, if you feel unsafe walking home late at night, U of M also offers something called Safe Ride service to get you home safely. It is a free service that transports students, faculty, and also staff to their residence or vehicle within 1 mile radius of campus. Unfortunately, it doesn't go too far, but it's really helpful. Besides physical safety, you can also register for your electronic devices with DPSs with this registered devices link. And then lastly, please be alert to scams. Again, and this time, which usually are emails or calls that ask you for money. These crimes sometimes disguise themselves as FBI, your friends, and sometimes it's your professors. If you receive communications that you suspect to be scams, you can always call the International Center or the US Police Department, again, the number that we listed for help. In addition to living, wellness, and safety resources, U of M also has an abundant academic resources available for you. The U of M libraries is a system of 20 libraries that includes a graduate and undergraduate science, health science, and many other specialized libraries. You can click on the link here to see a list of libraries and departments. In the libraries, you will find open and private study spaces. The online library system provides a vast database for research, publications, and then books. The libraries are also interconnected. So if you want to borrow a book from a specific library that is far away from you, you can order them to the closest library from where you live and then pick it up. Professors will list their office hours on their syllabus too. So visit them during their office hours is a great way to build relationships and receive one-on-one support for class materials. Different colleges and schools for undergrad and graduate students have different platforms and systems for advising. However, the concept is the same to offer academic supports to students regarding degree and course planning, such as adding, dropping classes, transferring credits, studying abroad, and then even your career plans. So it is very common for students to reach out to their academic advising if they encounter activity difficulties. And so at U of M, students are all very proactive, and then faculty are also very welcoming to students who have questions. And then there are a lot of English language support, such as writing tutoring and then courses for speaking. There are also programs such as the conversation partners and then conversation circles that pair international students with some native students. And they're great ways to improve English speakings and then also just make friends. All right, last but not least, I want to touch on US classroom expectations. The US classroom culture is very flexible. The atmosphere is usually very relaxed. Unless pointed out particularly by the faculty or your professor, you are allowed to eat snacks and then use technology during classes. So the classes are also very student-centered, which means that professors expect students to interact and then speak up. They expect students to have critical thinkings, raise questions, and then freely express their opinions. So the learning style at U of M is active learning, which means that you will be encountering many activities and assignments that allow you to explore the contents by yourself or with teams like we listed here. All right, so I have come to the end of my section. Be prepared to engage and then experience the fun and also creativity of U of M experience. I know we have provided much information here, and it is okay that you're not able to process all of them at once. I remember I was pretty overwhelmed when I before I set off to Ann Arbor and then trying to figure out all the information and then learn about U of M. But all the resources are here for you to go through on our slides and also on our on the International Center website. And I hope that you, after you leave the webinar today, like, you just know that the university and the International Center is here to support you. And don't be afraid to ask and explore. And I wish you all the best. Kate and Jake, are there any additional information that you want to add?
I don't. Jake and I actually switching technology. So Jake, if you have, go ahead and add anything.
Sure. I'll just add something really quick that I didn't mention when I introduced myself. Just generally speaking, since I am from the United States, I just wanted to let everyone know too, if you ever have any questions about, culture in Michigan or culture in the U.S. or places to go, things to do and see, anything like that, you're always welcome to reach out to me. You can come see me at the International Center, and just want to make sure that you know that we have staff members who are always willing to help and answer any questions you have about that. So that's all I wanted to mention.
All right, let's dive into immigration then.
Okay, so with that said, again, my name is Jake, and I will be presenting on the immigration portion of this presentation. So I'm going to be discussing the steps for applying for your U.S. visa, preparing for your arrival in the U.S., and what you will need to do to maintain your immigration status. And then I will finish by going over some of the most frequently asked questions asked by newly admitted students. Okay, so you can see here on the screen that these are the steps that you need to take to apply for a U.S. visa. First, you will need to pay the CVIS fee. After you pay the CVIS fee, you'll complete the visa application form, which is called the DS-160 form. After that, you will pay a visa application fee. And then the last step will be to make an appointment with the consulate, and then you'll have your interview. All of this information is included when your I-20 will be mailed to you. So just pay attention to that. And you'll see this link that says US Visa Application website. If you click on this link, it'll contain the information I mentioned in greater detail, and it is available both in Mandarin and English. So tips for applying for your US visa. First of all, we highly recommend applying for your visa as early as possible. Right now, visa processing times might take longer than normal, and visa appointments might be very difficult to obtain or might actually be rescheduled. And then students may be issued their, if you're an F1 student, your F1 visa may be issued up to 120 days before your I-20 program start date. Now, if you are a student within 60 days of the start date on your I-20, you may be able to request an expedited appointment, but just know that that request may or may not be successful. So there is no guarantee that you can get an expedited appointment. Next, be prepared to demonstrate your intent to return home after you complete your academic program. Students will need to prove that you still have ties to your home country. For example, that your family owns property in your home country. So make sure in your appointment that you'll be prepared to answer a question such as that. And then the last bullet point is just a couple of links for F1 and J1 visas of required documents that you should be aware of. And then the last thing I wanted to mention on this slide is that we are aware that it may be very difficult to obtain your visa. And I want to emphasize that the International Center is advocating for our students through all of these various government channels. And it is very important that you keep in contact with your specific admissions office for the most up-to-date information. So be on the lookout for emails from your specific admissions office. All right, next I'll talk about preparing for your arrival. So just to be safe, make sure that you check your I-94 online, and there is a link to check it, just to be sure that you were admitted into the US in the correct immigration status. So to make sure that if you're an F1 student, make sure that you were admitted as an F1 student or on an F1 visa. So you'll check this after you already arrive in the US. Also, we recommend that you attend all of the international student orientation, whether you are an undergraduate or a graduate student. And Kate will provide more details about which orientations are necessary for which students. Next, confirm when your mandatory check-in will be, and make sure you're there not only at the start of the check-in, but for the entire duration of the check-in. There's very useful information, so we would like you to be there the entire time. And we will notify students we'll notify you when your check-in will be and if it will be in person or online, because we're kind of in a period where we're not really sure if we're going to do in-person or online check-ins at this point. And as Shia mentioned earlier about transportation, make sure you make arrangements before you come to campus. It'll just be one less thing to worry about if you make travel arrangements before you arrive, rather than get off the plane, be super jet lagged, and have a lot of things to worry about. So taking care of that beforehand will you'll thank yourself later. All right, next. So an additional thing to prepare for your arrival is to make arrangements to transfer money to the US after you arrive and open a bank account. So that Shia mentioned banking a little bit, but yeah, just make sure that you have thought about it beforehand, how you're going to transfer money to a newly opened US bank account. Another thing to be aware of is that any amount of physical money over $10,000 must be declared in advance. So this would be like cash or checks or anything physical. Now, if you have money connected to a bank account on a credit or debit card, that does not count. So it's physical cash or money. And then if you know that you're going to arrive to the University of Michigan or Ann Arbor before you can enter your dorm room or apartment, make sure you make some housing arrangements in advance, whether you're going to stay at a hotel or in a different location, because you don't want to arrive in Ann Arbor and then be stuck without accommodations for a couple days before your new dorm or apartment lease begins. All right, and now I will talk about how to maintain your immigration status. So you will need to make sure you are doing all of these things to maintain your F1 or J1 immigration status. First of all, you need to maintain good academic standing and make progress towards your degree program requirements. You need to enroll full-time during the academic year, and the academic year is fall and winter semester. there aren't enrollment requirements during the spring and summer terms. If you're an undergraduate student, you must be enrolled in at least 12 credits per term. If you're a graduate student, that's 8 credits per term. But if you're a graduate student with a GSI or GSRA appointment, then the minimum requirement is 6 credits per term. Next, you'll need to maintain a valid passport and I-20. You'll need to maintain health insurance coverage, and we have our own health insurance unit on campus within the International Center that will be able to answer any health insurance questions you have. If you are interested in working on campus, you may work on campus up to 20 hours each week during the academic year. And then during breaks or vacation periods, and this includes the spring and summer semesters because that's considered a vacation period, you may work more than 20 hours each week. However, if you want to work off campus, you cannot work off campus without the proper work authorization. And that's something that you can worry about a little bit later, but our international student advisors will be able to meet with you and work with you to get authorization if that's something you are seeking. Okay, and then we're to the last section of the immigration portion of the presentation, and I'm going to be going over some FAQs, some frequently asked questions for newly admitted students. A lot of these questions are available on our website, and that top link that's underlined and in that green color, you can click on that and get maybe more detailed answers to the questions that I'm about to answer. And I want to also mention that this information is current, but it is also subject to change. We are in an interesting time right now where there are many laws and regulations that are changing. So we recommend that you keep checking the International Center website for any updates. On our front page, we have an announcement section where you can see all of the most recent updates. So definitely look at that frequently. And then before I get into it, the last thing I want to mention is that these questions that I will address are more general questions that are applicable to many students. If you have a very specific question about your particular situation, we recommend that you email icenter@umich.edu. And that email is available on the last slide of this presentation. And then an international student advisor will be able to address your specific questions that you have. Okay, so I have separated these questions that you asked beforehand into 4 different themes: immigration documents, travel, late arrivals or deferrals, and then fall semester status. So let's get into the first question under immigration documents. Is the University of Michigan still issuing immigration documents such as an I-20 or DS-2019 for newly admitted students? Yes, the University of Michigan's International Center, Office of Undergraduate Admissions, Rackham Graduate School Admissions, and admission offices for other graduate and professional degrees that are not administered by the Rackham Graduate School, they all are continuing to process immigration documents and serve newly admitted students. We are working remotely though, so keep that in mind, and it might result in processing times being a little bit longer than normal. How will the University of Michigan issue my immigration documents? So it depends on who your admissions office is, but the Office of Undergraduate Admissions is continuing to review application materials and processing immigration documents. The Rackham Graduate School Admissions is also doing the same for those who are admitted into Rackham. And then the International Center is continuing to work with other admissions offices for graduate and professional degree students who are not administered by Rackham. So the big point here is please contact your school or college's admissions office for more information. And if you click on that link of this slide, you'll be able to look at the contact information for your specific school or college's admissions office. What actions should I take to have immigration documents sent to me? Once you have accepted your admission offer from U of M, you will want to follow the instructions on your school's admissions office. You'll want to follow instructions of your school's admissions office on how to fully enroll into your program. Once you have submitted all of the necessary documents to your admissions office and enrolled into your program, you'll receive instructions on how to set up your shipping preferences through this company called eShip Global. And then your I-20 or your DS 2019 will be shipped by the service you selected, such as FedEx or UPS. Also note that due to the current COVID-19 situation, there may be a delay in delivery by FedEx or UPS or whatever service you choose. And then please contact your specific admissions office for more information about when to expect that you will receive your immigration documents. All right. Will I be able to get a student visa? The COVID-19 situation is dynamic and rapidly changing. You may be aware that for a while now, since March 20th, all US embassies and consulates around the world have suspended the routine processing of visas due to COVID-19. We recommend that you check the US Department of State's visa page for announcements and updates in order to stay informed about when consular services and visa processing times will resume. The International Center is closely monitoring this, and we will provide updates as necessary. And then you can check the US embassy or consulate nearest to you, the website of the US or consulate nearest to you for any other updates. And I just want to stress again that we're aware that it's very difficult to get visas right now, and we are advocating for our students. So again, just keep in contact with your admissions office for the most up-to-date information. Next question, can I get my visa in a third country, for example, where I have a relative or a friend? Technically, you can get your visa in a third country, but you have additional hurdles to overcome since one of the factors the consular officials look at is continued ties to your home country. If you are in a third country, then you may have additional difficulty in establishing that you plan to return home after your studies, and it also may be difficult for you to go to a third country due to travel restrictions each country has imposed on foreign nationals. So just be wary if this is a route you want to take. Do I need a specific visa type in order to study in the US? So we know that you may be desperate to study abroad, and especially if you haven't obtained your visa yet, but know that you cannot study in the US without being on an F1 or a J1 visa. You must obtain an F1 or J1 visa in order to study in the US and enter into the US. Okay, next, what are my options if I can't get a visa? One option is to defer your admissions, which I will touch on shortly. Another option would be to take classes remotely, which we should be hearing more information later this month on that. As Kate mentioned, there will be a university announcement on, status of fall semester. The third option would be to start by taking classes remotely and then have the possibility to join in person later in the semester. And this is only if your school or college will allow this. So you need to be in contact with them to see if that is a potential option for you. So now I will move on to the travel category. And the first question is, will I be able to travel to the US to start my program this fall if I get my visa? So the current global situation is fluid, making it very difficult or virtually impossible to predict whether further restrictions will be put in place by the U.S. government for travelers from high-risk countries, or if international travel to the U.S. will be restricted due to the situation within the U.S. You will need to continue to check the travel and visa restrictions that may be in place at the time you are planning to travel to the U.S. And we recommend that you monitor the travel updates by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, or the CDC, that is based in the United States, as well as resources from your own country's governmental agencies. So you may have heard that the US has made some travel bans. And so a question is, do any travel bans apply to me? So at this point, there are no travel bans for Taiwanese nationals, but there are travel bans that apply to foreign nationals who are physically present in one of the following countries during the last 14 days: China, UK, Ireland, Brazil, Iran, and the European Schengen area. So the Schengen zone is an area in Europe that is composed of many different European countries. So we strongly recommend not to travel to any of these countries before coming to the US because of this travel ban. It is also not known when these travel restrictions will be removed. What if I need to quarantine for 14 days after arriving in the US? What would I do about things like mandatory check-ins, setting up a bank account, going to class, etc.? So the International Center will work with you to make sure that you will be successfully checked in, whether that is in person or online. As for banking, see if you can set it up online. As Shia mentioned, we typically don't recommend a specific bank, but some banks, such as PNC, may offer setting up an account online. But just regardless of which bank you plan on using, make sure you check with them in advance that this is a possibility. And as for going to class, if you have to quarantine for 14 days after arriving in the US, contact your academic department. It may be department specific as to what their policies will be. Next, I will talk about late arrivals and deferrals. What should I do if I arrive in the US late? Again, we just recommend that you contact your specific admissions office about late arrival procedures, whether that is Rackham Graduate School, the Office of Undergraduate Admissions, or another admissions office. There may be a campus-wide late arrival date this year, but it has not been decided yet. So just keep looking on the International Center website for more information about that. What should I do if I defer my admissions to a future semester? If you are an undergraduate student, please contact the Office of Undergraduate Admissions. If you're a Rackham graduate student, School student, please contact your graduate program. And if you are a non-Rackham graduate student, please contact your specific admissions office, and they will work with you regarding when you will be able to begin your program at the University of Michigan. If I have already paid the SEVIS fee and then defer my admissions, can I transfer that SEVIS fee to a future date, and if so, for how long? If you defer your admissions and the International Center updates your current SEVIS record, then you do not need to pay a new SEVIS fee. If the International Center has to create a new SEVIS record in the future, then you may be able to transfer the SEVIS fee to the new record if it is within 1 year. So just keep that in mind if you are thinking about deferring your admissions. Okay, and lastly, fall semester status. What is the fall semester status? Unfortunately, it is very unclear at this moment. Our schools and colleges and departments will continue to engage in planning for the fall semester, and the university will announce details later this month. Our university president is cautiously optimistic that we will be able to safely deliver a public health informed fall semester with as much in-person instruction as possible. And that is the knowledge that we have at this moment. Lastly, what happens if my program is only offering online classes this fall semester? Under normal circumstances, the regulations only allow F1 international students who are located in the US to enroll in a maximum of 3 online credits, which may be counted towards their minimum enrollment requirements. The current guidance allowing international students to enroll fully in online courses has not been extended to the fall semester at this moment. If your program is only offering online classes this fall, you may enroll in online classes from your home country. Please contact your specific admissions office for more information on your eligibility for information documents based on your program's decision to only offer online courses this fall semester. As of right now, you will be issued an I-20 or a DS 2019 for the fall semester if you will be able to enroll full-time in on-campus in-person courses. Okay, so that concludes the FAQs for newly admitted students. And before we move on to orientations and beyond, I just want to ask Shia and Kate if either of you have anything else to add on the immigration portion.
I don't. Shia, do you?
I will just add that I know this is a very uncertain and stressful time for everybody to like figure out like immigration status and everything. And one thing that I was advised when I was going into the US to be an international student is that sometimes we will get a lot of information from friends, family, and sometimes even our faculty and then professors. And then the only place that has accurate information is from the International Center. And so Jake, Kate, and then also just the advisors from the IC. And so that will be the place that we can get ultimate information. And unfortunately, right now, there's a lot of things that's uncertain, and even Jake doesn't know a lot of answers. And so if you hear a lot of other responses or other tips and things from people who are not working at the International Center, I would just recommend you to be cautious and then also defer those questions back to the International Center. So that's the only thing that I want to add.
Great. Thank you both, Shia and Jake. I apologize for the technology that on my part. So Jake and I have to quickly chat each other and switch. I also didn't mention at the very beginning, if you see me constantly glance over to my right shoulder because I have another computer monitor there. So fingers crossed, and hopefully the rest of this presentation will go smoothly. So we're trying to do our best and making sure leave some time for you to ask the questions. So now I'm moving to orientations and beyond. Part of what we do here is really helping you to be prepared, having all the information, resources readily available at your fingertips, no matter what happens, right? A lot of things, uncertainty, we can't control, but what we can control is the information we are sharing with you. And you heard Shia talking about Midwest. This concept is really Michigan. The state of Michigan is surrounded by, you know, beautiful lakes and all that. So people refer to us as Midwest. So Midwest probably has its certain unique cultures. Other places maybe might be a little bit different. Ann Arbor is a college town. It's a small college town, which means when people say college town, probably there's a large institution situated in the city. So Ann Arbor, when you arrive here, and what I hear people saying, I love it, it's a small college town. Certain things may be at a little bit slow pace versus if you're going to New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, crowded and traffic. And in Ann Arbor, I always say there's no traffic jam. If there are 10 cars, people complaining, oh, so much traffic. So it's really you put into perspective. So information I am sharing with you probably are very generalized. I am not implying everybody in Michigan Midwest will be like what we are sharing with you. Here in Michigan, in Ann Arbor in particular, because it's college town, when you walk on campus and people don't know you even, they would smile at you and saying, good morning, how are you, right? And sometimes can be really strange to some people not used to this, who are you? I don't know you, why you say good morning to me, why you even talk to me, right? So it's very common here. So if that happens to you, what I would say, respond back, smiling back, and also say, good morning, how are you? Sometimes it's really when you hear how are you as a non-native speaker myself, and you're expecting to have a conversation, right? Because it's a question mark, how are you? but there's no conversation actually following from that. It is just a formality, a custom of people greeting each other. Topics that you should avoid, especially when you're first meeting with people here, is really age, weight, salary, sexual orientation. What is your political view? You know, do you really like Trump? You don't like Trump? Who do you like? Who are you going to vote? Those are the things that you don't want to talk to people. Unless you have a very good relationship and both parties feel comfortable, I would still caution you. This is something I think even among family members, when they have different political views and they don't want to talk about it. So this is something probably you want to be cautiously avoid, not talking to your roommate. University of Michigan is very diverse. You meet students and everybody from different background or from all over 130 countries that I mentioned here. And then you always, you know, normally when you go to events and making sure that you get invited, not just, you know, showing up unexpectedly, right? So you're making sure you are invited. When you are invited to any potluck, which is very common here, meaning everybody bring a dish to share. And sometimes I would always call the host saying, is there anything that I can bring? They may say, oh, why don't you bring maybe a bottle of wine? Sometimes I would say, if they say, oh no, just come over, you don't need to bring anything, but I would still bring maybe some flour, a bottle of wine. You can never go wrong with that situation. I would also remind you, consider bring some small, inexpensive souvenirs from Taiwan when you come over. I know you have limited space in your suitcase, but think about it. This is really could be a conversation into the future when you are making friends and people who might be very interested in where you come from. So an object, you know, in something that can be leading to a conversation. So consider getting some small, inexpensive souvenirs. In the US, this is really personal space, and you probably observe people tend to keep arm's length space between each other, especially even COVID-19 situation, you're supposed to keep that distance even bigger distances here. But even without COVID, it's a customary in the US, it's really people don't tend to line up very closely to each other because they want to keep personal space there. So I would say as somebody coming to a new culture, the best thing that to do will be just observing how other people interact with each other. Not judging really things, this is wrong, this is correct, my way is the only way, but showing your curiosity, showing a positive attitude, showing that you're eager to learn, you are new here, but you're also observing new cultures here. Diversity, equity, inclusion is a really big thing here at the University of Michigan here. International students really enrich the classroom conversation because you bring in global perspective to the classroom. You might have heard when three of us introduced ourselves, we mentioned our gender pronouns are she, her, her, so him, his. This is really something that I want to be mindful, which is not going to be very common when you walk into a classroom, people introducing each other. You also heard that we're describing, you know, I'm wearing a pair of glasses, what I am wearing, what color is my hair. This is also something when you do virtual meetings and be mindful even for people who may have some visual or even hearing disabilities as well. Common challenges, I mentioned at the very beginning, I'm a former international student. Even though I didn't experience every single thing on this list, thank goodness I didn't. But I did, you know, struggle with a lot of things, I have to say, even though that was, you know, many, many years ago. Definitely coming here, you will not have the support that you used to have at home in your home country, because that takes time to build your network, knowing people, right? And sometimes the relationship, a lot of international students are sharing with us is, well, Americans are very superficial. You know, I thought I know this person, we're friends, but, you know, really very superficial. They say, let's get together to have coffee or lunch, but that never happened. Right? So just to put into perspective, that's how in this culture, it's people say, well, let's get together. I don't mean superficial, seriously. Maybe sometimes people schedule are very tight. Maybe they forget. You can definitely follow up, say, hey, I remember we talked about this. Are you still interested? Do you have your schedule available? follow up, don't be afraid, approaching to your classroom and asking questions and making friends. I had a former international student talking about strategy she used to make friends is really, she said, every time I walk into the classroom, I would sit next to somebody that I have not talked to. And I'm thinking, wow, how brave, this is the way that she made friends. Language difficulties for some, I don't mean to all of you, especially this is something that you struggle with. I would definitely encourage you to use all the language support resources that Shia mentioned with you. You already heard Jake talking about immigration regulations that everybody has to comply with. Otherwise, you will not be able to continue study at University of Michigan. Now, of course, with all the challenges, what can you do making sure you get all the support necessary? I know that TWSA or MTSA, they already offered orientation for new Taiwanese students, which is great. I hope you had a chance to attend those orientations. And I also encourage you, even for the first semester, even first academic year, it is very important to maintain a relationship with your peers from the same country, because you speak the language, you feel very comfortable, you can relate to each other very well. So there's nothing wrong with speaking with the Taiwanese students and even with the students organization together, and sometimes to celebrate certain cultural traditions as well. But I also want to mention there are other things beyond just speaking with you Taiwanese Students Association. And there are over 1,600 students organizations on campus there. And then if you click on the MACE page, once we release this PowerPoint, you will be able to search by name, by type of organization, your interest, making sure you do some homework. So you have a couple of students organizations that you're interested. You may want to join them later on, but also check with your department. And this is especially for graduate students, this is the case. Department may have their own students organizations. And the International Center, we have International Center Students Council. This is really a group of majority are international students will be able to help us to identify some of the issues that really affecting international students, helping us to strategize, finding solutions to address the students, international students and concerns. So you can definitely get involved by checking our website. In early fall, we will start recruiting new members. Festival and NOSFest are probably the popular events on campus. Happens normally the beginning of the fall semester. We don't know what's going to happen for this coming fall semester, so stay tuned. And one will happen on Central Campus. It's the festival. NOSFest, meaning North Campus, where the Engineering Architecture School of Music, they're located on North Campus. Those are large events really showcasing students organizations, what they are. So you'll be able to approach to their table, talk to them, and see maybe this is the time they're recruiting new members. And they have a lot of free swags and games and activities. This is the best way to start finding the community that you want to be part of it. But I also want to caution you, don't just sign up every single table you're going through, because you're going to be overwhelmed with the email you will receive once you become a member of the Students Org. One tips might be just saying, okay, I'm okay right now, let me think about it. So you don't need to be pressured saying you must sign up. You can just say, let me think about it. I already signed up with a couple of students organization. I have a lot on my plate. This is my first semester. I'm new to Ann Arbor. Maybe next semester I'll sign up with your organization. Another useful tool, or actually on the website, is called Happening at Michigan. This is where you'll be able to search events happening every day, offered by either department or students organizations. Could be a lecture, seminar, could be some activities, a culture or meetings. It might be you are interested. Most things are all free, open to all, even to community members. But some events you may say specifically tailored for students from particular college and schools that you are not able to join. So making sure you just browse Happening at Michigan on a regular basis. Now, this is probably most important thing in your mind is really, would I be able to find a job? Would I be able to find an internship, right? We all know that's very important to all of you. And then the way that it works at the University of Michigan is at every single college and school, almost all, except a couple of schools that don't have a specific office called career services, but they may have one staff member wearing many hats, doing many things, might be there to support you, giving you resources and helping you as well. Excuse me. Other things that I want to mention is International Center in collaboration with many offices doing workshop events as well, helping international students is specifically in terms of internships or job search. I do want to highlight some of the tips I prepared here. It's really something that we gather together from former international students. They share their experience. Be proactive. What I meant is really don't wait until the last semester you're graduating. You started doing your resume and learning how to do interviews, learning how to build your networks. You should start that, if not the first semester, probably the first academic year, as soon as possible, utilizing all those services and consult with professional people helping you. Build cross-cultural knowledge is really, because the culture differences, what information should be included on the resume might be very different. I have seen a lot of international students including their gender, age, date of birth, everything on the resume, which is not here in the United States. Volunteer opportunities and international students sometimes wonder, well, this is a volunteer position, it's unpaid. How important it is to include that on your resume. I always say including the volunteer opportunity if the experience is very relevant to the job you are looking for, right? Regardless whether it is paid or not. Through volunteer experience, especially opportunities that you have a chance to interact with people, you'll be able to learn a lot of practical skills, including communication, improving your English language proficiency, and other things you will be learning about different cultures, how people behave as well. So making sure you keep in mind those tips when you are looking, utilizing the career resources, services on campus. Orientations, and Jake mentioned orientation. This is a very, a term depending on who you talk to. And so making sure you're being very specific when you ask questions related to orientations. Undergraduate students need to attend a mandatory orientation online this year because of COVID. For graduate students or professional degree seeking students, Rackham is the largest graduate school, but a lot of you are not falling into the Rackham program. You should really consult with your college and schools, making sure you know whether they have a specific department and college orientation, maybe require you to attend. I mentioned the TWSA and MTSA already had their own orientation, helping new students, which is great. International Center, we also offer orientation that is not required. It is free for international students, primarily attended by graduate students because undergrad has its own orientation. What we do here is really putting a list of workshops specifically tailored to help new international students. Some of them really addressing your practical needs from banking, transportation to legal issues. Legal issues, this is where you want to learn about a lot of situations, for example, drinking age, alcohol in the United States. For some countries, maybe drinking age is very unclear, but in the United States, you need to be aware, you have to be 21. Other things you might have heard, using marijuana. You know, can I use marijuana? This is, remember, the federal law still says it is illegal to use marijuana. You are non-US citizen, so immigration law falls under federal laws. So if you are in any possession or using marijuana, you could violate your immigration status, making sure those are the issues that we are addressing as well. Other academic support might be culture difference in the classroom. How do you communicate with your academic advisor to help you succeed in the academic study? Health insurance, making friends, it's very important as well. Employment, what are the things that I can find really helping me to find a job on campus? Not just earning some money, but really build your resume as well. And employment opportunities are also great. You'll be maybe having a supervisor who you can use for your future job search, writing a recommendation for you. Ask me, you have received information. It's really an opportunity, virtual opportunity for new students be able to ask questions, build network, except we are not able to address immigration questions in the Ask Me situation. all of you should have received in the newsletter we sent to all new international students. We are hiring continuing international students as peer advisors, so we'll set up some virtual chat to help new international students as well. Other things international students really offer beyond orientation. This is a whole list, so I'm not going to go through each one. You will receive this through newsletters. I put this in red, making sure you check UMich email. We encounter a lot of situations, students saying, I didn't receive your email because you didn't use the UMich email. So you should always use your UMich email, making sure, checking the newsletter we're sending to international students because we're communicating with you through your UMich email. A couple of events I want to highlight. This is something might be to your interest. Lunch and Learn series, as you know, this is a US election year. And then university is hosting the presidential debate in October. So you have the chance to come and participate. Hopefully that will be announced whether it's going to be virtual or in person. That won't happen until October. So we have some time to work out all the details. And other thing is the Meet, Eat, and American Life, abbreviated as MEAL at Michigan. This is really an opportunity for faculty and staff hosting international students at their own home to have a dinner, have a meal, but be able to have a mutual beneficial opportunity. You have opportunity to talk about your culture. They are having the opportunity to learn who you are, a unique opportunity to learn some of the challenges maybe you experience, bring more awareness to them. So we have to see whether this is going to be in person or this is becoming virtual in the future. This is the helpful links that Shia mentioned. We put this all together, hoping that you will be able to click each link, doing a little bit of homework on your own, because there's so much information, we're not be able to click on each link and share, but you have the opportunity to click on each link to learn a lot of more information by yourself. I know that I went through this very quickly because the technology part, we are a little bit behind, but we're doing pretty good here. But we do have some few minutes here. I noticed probably a lot of you send questions to us, but I also remind if you have the opportunity, I want you to click on the evaluation link or you scan the QR bar here code, you'll be able to do the evaluation. Maybe if I can have one of my colleagues, Kelly's behind the scene, can copy and paste this survey link into the chat, so any of you will be able to do the evaluations right away. So let's see what are some of the questions in the chat. I know one question, maybe if we can start with Jake. Somebody asked, if we are taking classes online completely, would we be eligible for CPT in the summer 2021?
Yeah, so I believe that Kelly Wagner responded to that, and okay. We don't, at this point, we don't know, but I've also just been informed that there has, as in the middle of this presentation, there was an announcement on the status of fall semester. So I believe we will try and link to that if we find it available on the website. But to address the question about CPT, so let me go back and find the question.
And then in the meanwhile, maybe if one of the Kelly can say any other questions that we should address right away.
Okay, I think that most questions have been answered.
Okay.
We had one around health insurance that we also answered as well, just around does health insurance cover COVID related treatment? And the answer for that is yes, that the International Student Health Insurance Plan will cover any treatment for COVID related illness, just as any other, injury or illness that you had while you were at school. So you don't need to worry about that. And I also put a link to the page that the President Schlissel put out about the fall semester, announcing the in-person classes and in-residence housing. So I don't have any more information because I haven't read it yet, but
that's okay.
On the chat box.
Yeah. Thank you. I see somebody asking whether the slides will be shared. We will, yes, we will share, also post on the website.
So there was a question that if we want to have an internship next summer, so next May, how will CPT be affected due to study remotely? So we'll have to look a little bit more closely at the president's announcement about in-person classes. So I'm not sure if remote study is even going to be relevant at this time, but there will be updates about that on the International Center's website. So just stay tuned, and we will be posting very soon about, work authorization, employment authorization information for either new students who are considering OPT or current students, or sorry, CPT, and current students who are considering CPT.
There's one question, somebody asking whether they can enter as a visitor first and then obtain F1 visa in the US.
So, yeah, that is a good question. There was one question that I addressed that basically, in order to enter into the US and study into the US, you do need to obtain an F1 visa beforehand. So you cannot first enter as a visitor and then obtain an F1 visa while you're in the US.
Thank you.
Here's a question here. I'm not sure if it's answered. Can a student with dual citizenship enroll in the International Student Health Insurance Plan? Somebody has dual citizenship.
The health insurance, I will take a step. The health insurance that we have, it's only for F1 and J1 international students. So you can have dual citizenship. I don't know, dual citizenship is a one US citizen, or this is really your status is determined based on what document you're using when you enter United States. So if you use the US passport, you're not an international student. But if you
I think Kate might have lost connection. Yeah.
So, yeah, I think she was just saying if you don't have F1, J1, then you're not considered as an international student. Is that correct, Jake?
So I'm not a health insurance expert, but I believe that is correct. Yeah. For health insurance specific questions, I would recommend emailing the health insurance, the specific health insurance email, which I will share in the chat right now. And our health insurance coordinator will be able to fully address any health insurance related questions. So that's the email right there. Oh, Kelly just sent it, sorry. And then I do see one more question. What if we get our F1 visa late after our programs start? So it is crucial that you stay in contact with your specific admissions office to see what their policies are on late start deadlines or late start dates. It depends on your department that you belong to or the admissions office that you're working with. You may have to defer, or you may be able to start attending classes remotely and then come later to begin in-person classes later on in the semester.
I am back. I think I lost the connection briefly. I am back. Sorry.
And then, so there was another question that was just addressed by Kelly, but it was, will our tuition be deducted if we take courses remotely? At this point, it's our understanding that there is no discounted tuition for taking classes remotely. But it's possible that you will not have to pay certain campus fees. Again, very new information just came out in the middle of this presentation, so there may be more clarity on some of your questions even in this coming week. So stay informed by looking on the International Center website and keep in contact with your specific admissions office.
Are there any new questions or old questions? Let's see.
Oh, Kelly Nelson just sent me one. I didn't see it, but it says, hi, it's still unclear to me what is the school guidance to deal with late registration on fall semester, like the extended deadline to check in. So again, it's highly dependent on what school or college you belong to. So contact their admissions office specifically, because there is not, to our knowledge at this point, there is no sweeping policy for every school or college. So you'll have to work with your specific admissions office to find out about late registration deadlines. And there was a second part of that question about extended deadline to check in. So the International Center will work with you to ensure that you can check in, whether it's in person or remotely. Just stay tuned for emails from either the International Center, if they're the office that is handling your specific admissions office, or your admissions office, such as the Office of Undergraduate Admissions or the Rackham Graduate School.
There's a question related to housing situation. Would applying with a roommate for UM housing lower the chance of successful application? Good question. I think this is probably one to reach out to housing office. And I don't know, Shia, you have anything else to add from your personal experience?
Unfortunately, I always live on off-campus housing, and so I'm not quite sure about on-campus housing. I think that would be a question to reach out to U of M housing.
Okay.
Yeah, and just generally speaking, I think you're learning that the University of Michigan is what we call decentralized, which means that there are many different units on campus that are kind of specialize in different things. And so, for example, the International Center, we may be more specialized in social and cultural programming for international students and scholars, and also immigration regulations for international students and scholars. But if there's specific questions about housing or tuition or an academic related question, we may not have that answer. So that is why we are directing you to different offices on campus, because they are the specialists in that specific matter.
All right. Thank you. I think we addressed all the questions. Kelly, is anything else you have?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. Great. I want to thank my colleagues, two Kellys, Nelson, Kelly, Wagner, working behind the scene. I want to thank my co-presenter, Jake and Shia. Sorry about the technology. This never happened to me. It happens just today. And then I just glance over to my right monitor. So check university, umich.edu, and then the president just released the fall plan. So make sure you read information and see what is going on there. And thank you so much. Make sure you do the evaluations, and safe travels. And we hope to see you in Ann Arbor soon. Bye, everyone.
Thank you all.
All right, bye, everyone. Thanks for attending.
Bye.